Very, very cool, right?
Yeah.
And maybe our audience knows that outside of C&A Digital, I have 3 children and a wonderful husband. And my kids.
Well, I have a husband too.
You have a husband?
Oh, geez.
No,
We're talking about that.
I wouldn't make that mistake. Welcome to Inside C&A Digital, the podcast. We have got a really fun podcast for you today. We have 3 lovely guests. I'm going to introduce them to you now. So over here we have Chereese Jervis-Hill. She is the president and founder of Events and PR to Remember. I see you everywhere around Westchester. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Joe Guilderson is the president of Corporate AV. He's a friend and also one of the top, if not the top, corporate AV companies in Westchester and beyond. A real pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure is all mine.
Yeah,
I love coming here.
You
Are
love
kidding?
coming? Yeah.
Look at these new mugs. I came just for the mug. But
You can take them up.
Yeah, do we get a mug?
Of course you get a mug. And Sherri Heller is really behind the scenes VP of marketing here. So you may not have seen her, but she's responsible for a lot of the cool stuff we do at C&A Digital. And so thank you for being here, Sherri.
You're welcome.
Yes, so we have a fun time for our audience. You'll see some kind of similarities in what we do. Now, you don't have a direct marketing company, but I think a lot of, as I've gotten to know Corporate AV and you as an owner, I think one of the things that I find fascinating is how long you've been in the business, how you stay fresh and innovative. I'm thinking of this recent event we were at where you really took the event by storm with, how you showcased your company. When that's all marketing, right? So even though you're in the corporate AV space, you really kind of took a really fresh approach, and where you were looked very different than everyone else. So
I think I know the event you're talking about.
I know you do. And, it was cool to see. And I think you have nuggets of insights that people who are in our audience could benefit from. So tell the audience a little bit about you, your career, and kind of why you're sitting here with me.
Well, I'm sitting here for the free mug.
That's right.
Let's be clear. That's why I'm here.
We came to
Yes.
that. Yes.
No, look, I've been in sales pretty much most of my life. Sales is obviously interconnected to marketing.
Sure.
But where it got more interesting was, I think, when I moved to New York and started in with audiovisual and production. And that was 19 years ago last week.
Wow.
And
you don't look old enough.
well, that's very nice of you to say. that's because you're getting the good side.
One compliment.
You're getting the good side on the camera, I think, today. But
lighting's good.
Yeah, lighting's excellent. We love lighting.
That's it.
But no, I think you constantly have to learn along the way, and that's it. So I came from the sales side, but then got into the production and the live events side, and that was exactly the perfect fit for me.
Yeah.
I studied art and was in like an art major, and then I played music for 30 something years at this point, and it all kind of comes together in what we do in live events and audiovisual production and marketing. Like we're really involved in the marketing for our clients.
Sure.
We're a part of theirs.
Right.
So, you learn a few things as you go along, and you try to apply it to your own business. And as a small business, that usually falls in some way, shape, or form on me. And so while I may not do everything, I'm involved in every piece. But
sure.
But it's all learning, and I think learning from others and watching really great groups do cool things. So,
yeah, we certainly learn.
So we like that part.
Yes. So Chereese, tell me. So I don't know a lot about. I see you everywhere. I see your name associated, your company's name associated with a lot of bigger events. Mm-hmm. So tell the audience kind of about yourself, your business, and how you got started.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. So events to remember, PR to remember, my baby, my third child, I like to say. We're actually celebrating 20 years in April.
Oh, congratulations.
I cannot believe it's been 20 years. That's
wow.
insane. I started when I was 5.
Yes, of course. It would have to be.
So pretty much at ETR, we help our clients tell their story through events and PR campaigns. So we really help them market, we help them publicize, really focusing on their goals to tell their story. And I think all of that is really marketing, helping them to kind of showcase their best selves.
Sure.
So, and how I got started, corporate, I have a corporate background. I came from corporate events. Sherri and I were talking about that a little bit earlier. I worked for MetLife, I worked for Philip Morris, and, after 9/11, industry got hit really hard and was laid off and did a couple of things and had a lot of contacts in the hotel industry. And, people call Chereese, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, I'm working on that. And then a few years later, started ETR, and 20 years later, here we are.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
So tell the audience, Sherri, a little bit about yourself and before your life before C&A Digital. I mean, I hate to admit there was one, but yes, and kind of your perspective here.
Sure. So I started my career working in New York City, working for major financial services firms, doing marketing for them. There were a lot of legal disclosures required and a lot of rounds of legal review and a very different world.
Fun.
So I got laid off from a major mutual fund company and I enjoyed my severance. And then I thought, I don't want to commute into the city anymore. I have kids. I want to be home. So I happened to respond to an online ad at C&A Digital, though it was known by Copy and Art at that time. And here was an advertising agency in White Plains and looking for a marketing person to help grow the business. When I started, I remember having in-depth conversations with Elena about different things that I thought she could do to increase her visibility in the community, in terms of advertising, in terms of awards that we should be applying for. And it really, she was very interested in it, a little wary at first, but it really worked.
And you see her everywhere.
And she is everywhere.
And
Sherri
push her out everywhere.
Yes.
So yeah, from magazines to, different events that she goes to, and she's really created, grown the business significantly, and due to some of that awareness. And
absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the things that is important. So hopefully, what the audience will note, if they know a little bit about us, is that there's some crossover in what we do. And one of the things I like to stand for is I philosophically believe that there's more than enough business to go around.
I agree.
And I think it's really short-sighted to be like uber competitive with other businesses. And there are other ways to do it. Now, we have to look out for our businesses, of course, but I think that there's also a way to grow through kind of helping other businesses. So part of the objective of this platform is really to take experts like you who are kind of in similar spaces, give you some visibility to tell our market like things they might not know. So Joe, if you had to pick something either about where audio visual technology is now for events or where you see it going, like what would you say maybe better than a lot of other people because of what you do?
Well, I think the driver behind a lot of things at the events is still the actual content. And, we always stayed away from content. We had people that would produce videos and they would hire us to show the videos, right?
Sure.
So we're like, well, we're not going to do that because then we're, kind of biting the hand that feeds. We're not going to do that. COVID did change that. There was no way around it because content was the driver to everything. And so we started really doing much more video production. But as the shapes of things change, like if there's a stage, you may go to certain shows, maybe a big show at the Javits Center, and they could have 100-foot wide screen. Well, that's not like a PowerPoint slide. Like you need to actually create footage that fits the 100-foot, rectangular shaped screen. And I think that gets still lost. That people, they kind of rush through things and they don't actually think about the quality of the content. And I think that's kind of where all of us come in.
Right.
And, I know we try to bring it up to people like, hey, you kind of got to do something for this. Like, have you thought about that? And
right.
Half the time the answer is no. That's a little bit of a shock, I think, to me sometimes. But I think that would be a good place to start. Like, what is it you're actually showing?
Right.
And I think that still requires a lot of detail. People are surrounded by images all day long.
Right.
And if what you put on that screen sucks,
they're
not going to pay attention.
No,
they're looking at their phone now instead of paying attention. I don't know. I guess that's just my 2 cents on it. But
That brings me to an interesting point. So, Chereese, I know that you mentioned not only your PR, but how live events kind of supports your strategic offering for your clients, right? I'm very big on like being in person and being at events and kind of being with other people. How would you say things have changed post-pandemic? Do you still feel like there's apprehension? I see you're doing really big events, so tell me what you're thinking.
So people want to be in person. People like people, you know what I mean? But
I don't really like that many people.
Yeah.
yes, you do, Joe.
You're different.
We are social
I like
animals.
this table, but I don't really like that many people.
But people, what we learned during COVID is we missed that personal interaction, that one-on-one, being around people.
Sure.
So events are in full swing. People are coming out, we're seeing record numbers in all of our events. I feel like what's changed is kind of leading up to events. I think about before COVID, how I would be driving all around Westchester, New York City for committee meetings, meeting with different groups. Now, everything is via Zoom, which is a blessing and saves us on miles.
Right.
So I feel like the planning and going over the best practices, all of that stuff is happening via Zoom or Google Meets or whatever. But the in-person stuff, people want to be out. People definitely want to, be out there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people. We are social animals, despite what Joe
We
said.
are.
We're also in
too.
the office 3 days a week,
Which is nice. I mean, that's part of that. That actually brings me to you, Sherri. So,
Oh, sorry.
the cool part about you being here is that you represent C&A Digital, and I can kind of ask you, and you can, be as transparent, as everybody else is here. What do you think how do you think things have evolved since the pandemic, and even with the business that we do? Some of it is kind of PR related, some of it is live event related. Like,
Right.
what do you see?
Yeah. Well, I definitely see, I stole my own thunder, but I definitely see that being in the office and being able to collaborate with coworkers is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of offices are not coming, a lot of, companies are not coming into the office. And I feel like that is a not just for younger people starting out their career, but for all of us. Maybe Joe wants to sit at home, maybe, in his kitchen.
I never sit at home. I never sit at home. I'm literally out like 4 nights a week.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But I think it's important for us all, for our psyche,
creativity, right?
Yeah, and for creativity, definitely, to be able to collaborate with our coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of our audience members happen to be, part of let's say, a younger demographic than mine. And, I do try to take a little bit of time and space with our podcast to urge them to get out and to be present. I think there is research that supports the fact that some of these generations that are like, they're choosing to be at home versus coming into an office, they're not going to get promoted. They're not going to build their career. There's so much that is learned by just walking the hall or walking. So tell me about at your company, how do you manage this, either this new environment, this hybrid environment? Were you always this way? Like, what is the position that you have in terms of face time with employees?
I think from our side, most of our staff are technical people. And so they're not usually in the office to begin with.
Okay.
They're usually out
In
on
the
site.
field,
Right. They're with the clients or in the field. So we've had a different environment for a long time.
Okay.
We put our inventory system, we have a lot of equipment, right? It takes up giant warehouses, stuff everywhere. But we put that was in the cloud. Honestly, it's been 12 years at least that we had all of our main software has been in the cloud since, so that all those people that are in the field could actually access the information, because they might go from one event to another event to another event. So they're not even in the office. Now, anyone that's in our development team or in the account management team or design, they're usually in the office. Now, during the pandemic, that was obviously different.
Right.
And there's certainly some flexibility now that we never had before. We have an office in Midtown Manhattan. We're on with them once every day at 9:30 in the morning, where we have them on a Zoom call, and because we want everybody to to be communicating as one.
Sure.
And Zoom has made it a lot easier, or Teams or whatever, you know. But it's still like we're going to do our own company meeting next week, and that's everybody's got to be together because it's just a totally different energy.
Absolutely.
I think Zoom and everything online is great for efficiencies.
Yeah.
And it's still better than a phone call. Now on the development side, like we're making those Zoom calls instead of phone calls now because the connection is better.
Yeah.
Right? You can see someone and that's a way better experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and it's just things because you can't get that on the phone. I can't make that connection when I saw you like wince because I probably shouldn't have said what I just said. You wouldn't believe how many times that comes up. I mean,
that's a joke.
Sorry, that might be a me thing. But no, I think just when everybody's together, though, there's just such a different energy. And you can see the ideas kind of bouncing off each other. But I do like the blend because there is an efficiency from online work that is a little different. And, you know, I don't have 22 people waiting to ask me a question either.
Right.
Because I always think, like, what do you do when I'm not here?
Yeah.
Do you just not do anything? Like, what happens? You're like, well, no, I would do this.
Don't answer that question.
Then do that.
Do that.
Do that. You already know the answer.
Right.
So it is kind of interesting, the dynamics. But no, I like both, but mostly in person. I like being together.
Yeah. Great.
Same. I think the blend works. You know, it's in our office, you have to come in 2 days a week, you know, at least 2 days a week. Just so, because the creativity, you know, we need to be together, just to share ideas, to go over details, especially too when I'm running. Like a lot of times I'm out and about. So if I know this is the day everybody's going to be together, then on my calendar, I can schedule time and really go over some of the details. So I think that is really, really important. And I think too, I've always wanted everybody kind of in the office before COVID, and then COVID taught us that everybody can do what they need to do without coming into the office. So I felt like that was just more of a learning thing. It forced me to kind of change to make it where they don't have to come in, you know, the flexibility, you know, it's there because it has to be, you know, I think. And also too, now with everything being so competitive, I think you kind of have to have some of that flexibility so you get to keep your good people, you know, so I think that's another piece of it too.
And that's like a new wrinkle, really. Like,
it
that
is
didn't
a
exist
new wrinkle,
before,
but it's
you know,
that's
pandemic.
Yeah,
but it is necessary. I agree.
That's our
I wouldn't have been
reality.
open to that before.
Yeah,
right. And nobody was.
No,
yeah,
but now it's a
employers
must-have.
weren't.
It's a must-have.
They just weren't.
Yeah.
Right, they didn't have to be.
Yeah, but you see the work getting done, right? You see results happening. So at the end of the day, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. So if it's happening, you know,
and your
we have to be
are
flexible.
Happy.
Yeah.
Right, that's important. So I'm going to actually go around the table and ask all of you to answer the same question, and it's around where do you see it? I'm start with you, Sherri. Where do you see kind of the future of what we do going? Like, right, because if we're going to be these leaders who continue to be at the forefront of what we do, we can't just manage the business we're in today.
Yeah.
We have to manage the business of the future or we'll become a dinosaur. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of dinosaur-proof the marketing offering here and kind of the work that we do behind the scenes?
Right. So, you know, as an organization, we've discussed this at length and we've taken some steps to address that. We are offering new business strategy solutions to add to our offerings to better service our clients in ways that we were doing before through strategy workshops and different kind of business strategies to help clients build their business. Of course, we're still doing all of the marketing services that we offered before, but just diversifying what we're offering. Like Chereese was saying earlier, when she was working in just events and the pandemic hit, and then she diversified doing, I don't know if I just stole your thunder, sorry, Chereese.
No.
But, yeah, so that's some of what we've done.
You know, one of the things I think is interesting, and then I want to hear both of your perspectives is, you know, because I'm getting a lot of questions about the rebrand and some of those announcements. You know, I thought it was fascinating that we're a marketing firm, right? That we specialize in this and we're, you know, arguably the top in our industry. And yet there were at least a few service lines we weren't actively marketing. What a miss, right? And sometimes, right, it's this whole idea of what we do for clients. We're not 100% great at doing for ourselves. But when we just took a look at like, where's our business coming from? Where are we serving our clients? There were like 3 service lines I can name off the top of my head that we weren't even actively marketing, but we're doing this work and growing with clients, and we weren't even telling the world about it. So I do want you to answer the question around the future and where you see kind of your business going, but also think about like, have you ever found that there were pieces of, or let's say service lines that you offered that you weren't even marketing, and now you are kind of looking there?
So yes.
I know, it's like crazy.
But to go back to the Office of the Future, I think as business leaders, we have to constantly be learning, right? I just mentioned that I'm going to a conference in Canada on Saturday. It's going to be freezing. I know. But it's all about technology and events. And for me, it's always trying to find out what the best practices are to bring back to my clients. So I think for us to be on top of the Office of the Future, we have to constantly be learning. We have to constantly see what's out there and not afraid to try new things and not afraid to experiment. So yes. And then the service line, well, I'll let Joe go and then we'll come back for the service line.
Cool. Sure. She's nicer than I would have been. I would have
so
kept talking.
Nice. I know.
Especially if you were coming next,
You
Joe.
definitely would have kept talking. I don't think there's a question about that. All right. So is this a dinosaur-proof question?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, because I like dinosaur-proof. I'm going to use that terminology now.
You should.
I'm totally
Just pay me 50 cents every time you say it.
And C&A Digital. No, but it's, because we're in the technology space to begin with, it's constantly changing. So it's kind of built in already. But that being said, most of our clients are very traditional in a lot of ways. So we don't do a lot of, activations in Times Square. We don't do a lot of kind of things that just happen. It was a brand new idea yesterday. That's not really what we do a lot of. Mm-hmm. A lot of is kind of a core, it's a reliable type of event or product or service. So most of our work goes in line with that. So we don't tend to jump on something right away. We like to kind of have it go through its generations a few times and then we come onto it. But equipment is always something that we have to adjust and work with new equipment all the time. And we just made some big investments into things for this year to kind of introduce some new products, because we know that people in the area are counting on us to be that leader.
Sure.
And that we have to actually bring it to them because they don't know. They say, well, because that's the question that gets asked.
So what is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there'll be.
I mean, you can't. Is he not going to tell
I can't
us?
tease. I can't just tease it.
I mean, you can, but you want people to call you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. You are a marketing person.
You might want to tell us.
That's good.
You might want to tell us.
Well, we have different laser projection technology that, again, there's really no one that has it locally, so it becomes a plus for us.
Cool.
It just makes the product, the client's brand and colors and logos just look better.
Right.
And there's other advantages to it, but we won't bore everybody with that.
You did laser for one of my galas last year.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool, right?
Sorry to cut you off, but I just thought about that night.
It's fun stuff. But that's part of, and LED technology. LED is used in a lot of different things, just as some of the products you have here right now for our filming. But in this case, think of Times Square and the big video walls.
Right.
And that's something that you should be seeing. Probably you're going to see something in April.
Got it.
The product's coming in soon, but I know which event it'll be showcased at first.
Very cool.
Because that'll be part of what we have to bring to the client.
Right.
They say, here's a new idea. Let's try this out.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, so interestingly, I appreciate the future proofing and the dinosaur proofing.
Yes.
And, but actually, my favorite part about your business is actually the people. And
Them I like.
Yeah. And so I think that, one of the best compliments that we get here when people walk through is about our people, right? Because I think bottom line, business is about relationships, and people do business with people.
People know, like,
right?
and trust, right?
Yeah, tech is great. Innovation is great. We're going to stay on the cutting edge. But, certainly I know you're coming. I mean, they did our ribbon cutting. We see you all the time. I know your team members. I was so impressed with like the team that came in to do our ribbon cutting in our event. And they were just really cool people. Talk to me about how you ensure that balance between great people you want at your company and the skills and technology and keeping your finger on the pulse. Like, how do you manage culture at your company?
Well, that's complicated because a lot of our technical people by nature don't have the communication skills that we need. Just think of the infamous IT person, they're not that bad, but still.
No.
But when we go to like our highest level production, we usually have people that can't communicate with others. We have them in a certain spot doing the thing that they're really good at. And then we have other people.
You have your account people who are gonna.
Then we have client facing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so it's kind of like two different skills. What we look for when we're recruiting people, and we do a lot of our own training. So we actually have our own training session in August, which is dubbed Pirate University.
I know you've never invited me, by the way.
I don't know if you want to go to that. I mean, do you want to go to that?
I see it on social media.
It's a group of pirates. I mean,
I don't know. That sounds like fun to me, but
it is fun. Are you
okay.
kidding me? But so like we're looking. Yes, we're training.
Like, really? It's okay.
You can come. You're invited. Okay.
Thank you. That's so nice.
But we're looking for that energy that they have. Can
Sure.
they be a good part of our team? Are they going to be positive? Are they going to be upbeat? Are they going to be able to solve a problem in the heat of the moment?
Right.
And we know we can train the skills, the actual technical skills. So what we look for in our culture is that people and communicating with other humans part of it.
Well, you're a service business, and you're
Yeah,
a service business. Tell me what you look for when you're thinking about, the experience you want your clients to have.
So partly what he said, but for us, service is all that you have to be able to provide this service for a client. And I want every client to feel the same warm and fuzzy feeling. So it has to be repeated over and over and over again. So when it comes to our team and when we're hiring, I need someone who is flexible, because we have a run a show, it's tight, but plan A, once you're in the moment, may not happen. So you might have to shift to plan B or plan C. So I need someone who can make those adjustments, being kind,
and not lose their cool.
Not lose their cool,
right.
Be calm. People say that, oh my gosh, like, the kitchen's on fire and you're calm.
Right.
The guests don't smell the smoke. We got this. So I think being flexible, liking people, I think you have to like people and kind of doing what we do, right? Going the extra mile. I say this all the time. They're paying us so that they're not worrying about these things. These are our things to take care of.
Sure. So
really just providing that service and the end result. When I look at some of our nonprofit clients, right? We're helping them raise millions of dollars for causes that help everyone in this room, right? These are causes that affect people in our family, people that we know, people that we love. So it's a lot of pressure, but doing it being kind and doing it in a loving way. I think that really is that, all of those things.
Right. So if you had to kind of answer a similar question, since you have that kind of that intimate knowledge of C&A Digital, like what would you say are some of the kind of culture builders and like, you know the philosophy around how we hire, but like, right. How does it actually come into practice? And do you think we do a great job about that or not? Like, be honest.
We do. But one thing that's really great about C&A Digital is we hire interns who have then become employees, like some of the people behind the cameras over here on that side of the room. And I think that's really good for our culture, because as interns, they get used to our culture and they see what it's like. And then they want to come back and work for us. And, they end up being very, very great employees. And then we have several perks in the office that, you know, people enjoy: the working from home twice a week, the food in the kitchen that's always very nicely stocked. So I think that Elena, in building this business, has made it a really nice place to come to work, that people want to come here, and not just, you know, because there is free food, but because besides that, there's a whole working culture where people do like to collaborate, and we do joke back and forth. And there's a big variation in terms of ages and all different things, and we all just work very well together. And that's to the benefit of us personally, and also for our clients, and being able to, you know, create high quality work.
You know, it's
people want to
interesting.
know they're appreciated, you know,
Absolutely.
and these little things that we do as business owners show that appreciation. We can't do what we do without them,
Right.
you know, so I think that's amazing what you're doing. It's important.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting even threads that came through when we were doing our intros earlier was that a lot of businesses are started by people who went through a painful moment. So maybe you were let go, or maybe a business partner didn't go well, or some pain point that led, like that was the catalyst. And certainly in the case for C&A Digital, one of the objectives of this company that there's a tremendous amount of intentionality around is I really believe that, like, you should enjoy the time that you're working. Now, it's still work, right? We get paid because we're not at playtime. However, it doesn't have to be like upsetting or miserable, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't find at, you know, a lot of agencies people who were actually happy at work. And I just thought, what a miss. Like, I wonder if you just invested a little bit more time and thought and energy into what it would be to make you happy at work. And then maybe you applied that toward an organization and how you could do that, what it would mean. Like, how would that actually happen? And 13 years in, I would say that our biggest indicator is definitely the stranger who walks in. Sometimes it's the UPS guy, and he's like, "Can I stay? This place is so nice.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to have coffee. Can I have coffee?" Like that to me is like anybody who
That's
walks in
awesome.
and feels that. You know, neighbors from our building will say the same. That's when you know you have a special space, which obviously you guys know a little bit about.
Even walking in, I mean, I felt special. You know, your team is
You're
great.
special.
Thank you. I feel like I am special, but just that acknowledgement. Everyone has been wonderful from the moment I walked in. So yeah, you have a great team,
And that is,
you know that.
Thank you. You know, we're very intentional about hiring. Joe slipped through the cracks today. I don't know what happened.
I mean, the door was open. I don't know. Somebody hit the green button, I guess.
People know us know that this is all we do is joke around with each other. But it is super important. Relationships are important. That includes the relationships at this table. So I have to say thank you for joining. I have one last question. Right. So the question is my favorite. It's what do I not know enough to ask you that you might want to share with our audience?
We didn't talk about family. And I feel like our family is a big part of who we are. So I have two amazing daughters, two adult daughters. My oldest is going to be 30.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
And my youngest is 22. Two girls, China and Casey. I have an amazing husband, Arnold, who is very supportive, and I couldn't do what I do without them. So I wanted to plug my family.
I think
I talked about the business, but they're a part of the journey. So
awesome.
Your other two children.
Yes, my other two children. Yeah, ETR is that's the boy I never had.
Right.
You know, we'll stay with the family thing. I mean,
Okay.
on my side, I have like a whole tribe of people, you know, because of blended families. And my son is 20, my daughter's 13. And then my wife, Carmita, has two children. So they're stepchildren for me, Brian and Rochelle, and they're all great. Everybody gets along, and it's just a crazy environment and crazy household of chaos all the time. You know?
Yes. That sounds
But
like
that's
fun.
kind of how my whole life works. So
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
I'm used to it.
Awesome. Sherri, you're spilling the beans.
About my family?
Sure.
Um,
If you want.
Okay, sure. I have 2 children as well, a boy and a girl, so I kind of get to see both sides. Boys are easier. I have a 21-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter, and they are both in college right now.
Excellent. Where do they go?
My son goes to Wisconsin, and my daughter goes to Cornell.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very cool.
Very cool, right?
Yeah.
And maybe our audience knows that outside of C&A Digital, I have 3 children and a wonderful husband. And my kids.
Well, I have a husband too.
You have a husband?
Oh, geez.
No,
that.
I wouldn't make that
Yikes.
mistake. Talk to us
Okay,
about
my husband is
Wayne.
Wayne.
Yes.
I was telling them about him before. He works in Manhattan. He's a lawyer.
She did. She
He's
was
good.
saying good things about
Exactly.
Wayne.
Gosh. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Elena. Sorry to interrupt.
That's always the worry. Is like, who am I going to forget?
Yeah.
But I have a 14-year-old son that goes to Iona Prep. Super proud. A 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter. So obviously they were actually the catalyst for starting the business. So it's thank you for bringing it there. And I have a husband who I've been with for 19 years, and I think 17 married now. I'm bad with names, but Eric is my rock, and certainly I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have a crazy support system outside of the family that I built here at C&A Digital. So everyone here, I also consider a part of my family.
Yeah.
I think they would tell you the same. And the good news is my family just got bigger because I include both of you as part of my family. So thank you for being here today.
I'm in.
Yes.
I'm going on a trip.
Yes.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes. So thank you so much for being
you
here,
for
for
having
sharing
us.
your
Thank you
insights.
very much.
Hope you'll come back. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope I'll see you back here soon.